It's not.
You'll be mad at me.
There wasn't one.
We're good.
He can blame me. He blames me for most.
All right. At this time, we will call this meeting to order. Val, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry? Here. Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson? Here. Mayor Villa?
Here. At this time, I'll ask everybody to silence your cell phones or any electronic devices that make sound. And please ask you to rise for the invocation led by Commissioner John Danio and continue standing for the Pledge of Allegiance after.
Okay, since John Danio didn't have proper preparing, I'd just like to start off my invocations with some kind of thoughts. We are going through a lot right now, and I just remember something that I heard from an old wise man one time that said, "You think you have it bad when you have no shoes until you meet the man who's got no feet." And I think the only way we're going to combat this current situation we're in is to stay positive. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for tonight, God. We look forward to some progress here in the city and our council meeting, and we just ask you for guidance. And God, everybody knows that this situation that we're in right now is not good, but we got to step back and let you take charge, and we have to just trust in you. And Father, I just ask you to be with all those out there on the front lines, all those that are in situations that don't want to be, whether it's illness or whether their family is ill. And God, we know that ultimately we'll get through this, but we need to just keep our faith. Father, I just thank you for this time, and I ask you to bless it, and I ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Daniel.
Sir.
At this time, we will recess our City Commission meeting and convene as the CRA. Moving to our CRA agenda items 1 through 2. Number 1, Mr. Simpson.
Resolution number 2020-R-26 by title only for first reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, authorizing change order number 5 to the US 1 utility underground project to Carter Electric, and authorize the city manager to execute the change order for 385 additional days, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Is Mr. Curry going to present this, or you?
No, this change order we talked about at the work session when Mead Hunt was here. And this is an extension of time for Carter Electric to come in and have the additional year to finish up any projects that need to be done. We also added in there a $17,000 financial change order to it in case something comes up that we're not prepared for, that we don't have to come back to the commission and request a financial increase. So that's the difference in the order.
My question is, what happens if we don't end up using that?
Using what?
The 17,000. It just
It's
goes
in the
back,
budget.
Goes back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't go in Joe's pocket, I can tell you that.
No, I know that. I know that. I just wasn't sure how long it would be tied up if we didn't need it.
It's tied up for the period of the 385 days, unless Carter finishes prior to that.
Okay.
But it stays in the budget. It doesn't.
Okay.
Stays in the budget. You'll see it there.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Are there any other questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open this up to public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval. We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson and a second from Commissioner Curry. I almost called Commissioner Penny. 2 pennies, they're hard to keep track of. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item 2, Mr. Simpson.
Resolution 2020-R-27 by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City of Holly Hill Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment to the management agreement with Pictona at Holly Hill and providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Forte.
Okay, if you recall, we discussed this some time ago about the city was going to hire 1.5 employees, a full-time and a part-time, to operate the senior activity center over at Pictona. and giving it some thought, I met with Reiner to see if Pictona, the board, would take over the maintenance and operations of the senior center. It made more sense that due to the amount of hours that the senior center would be open and the staffing requirements and the cleaning and the staffing the front counter, that if it was all under one supervision, there'd be a lot less conflicts. So I asked Scott to do an amendment to the original management and operations agreement to include now the senior activity center. So in your agenda packet, I did include the amendment and I included the original management agreement so that you had it there for reference.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for staff on this? I just wanted to get clarification from Mr. Simpson. Joe and I had spoke about this. In the unlikely and hopefully never happens event that for whatever reason we want to take back the senior center and run a certain program or whatnot, we would be able to take back management of that, basically cancel our management agreement with them for no reason. Is
90
that
days notice without cause.
Well, not the management agreement, this addendum.
okay? Just that's what I
The
mean.
addendum.
That's what I mean. Exactly.
So
what-
that would allow us to go in and take over management of the senior center.
Okay.
But
Yep.
the management agreement to run the entire, the pickleball facility is a long-term management agreement.
Okay. Great. And I don't think that'll ever happen, but just in case there was in 20 years there was a debate on what senior programs to run, and the city wanted to do something, and pickleball necessarily didn't. That was my only comment, and I wanted to make sure that we're protected there. And you know, I have it. Should I bring up the other thing, or wait till my comments, since it doesn't necessarily?
If it
That
doesn't
we
apply to
talked
this
about.
item, then I'd wait till the end.
Okay, yeah, we'll wait for that. All right, so with that, we will open this up to public comment if anyone would like to speak on this item to the commission tonight. I see no hands, so I will close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Penny and a second by Commissioner Danio. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we will adjourn as the CRA and reconvene as the City Commission, and we will move to public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to speak to the Commission about anything not on our regular agenda tonight. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the Commission? Mr. Legary.
Good evening, Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I was appalled at the News Journal headlines about Bishop's Glen. And I was wondering if y'all did something to the News Journal to hair-lip them, or what?
You're not the only one.
What was the deal? I don't know. The same article has 3 places in Ormond at the end. I was just astonished. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Right there with you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak about anything not on our regular agenda tonight? Did you want to say something, sir? Yeah? And before you start, just state your name and address for the record.
Terry Wood, 231 Riverside Drive in Holly Hill. Just wanted to get clarification from the last commissioner meeting when Mr. Penny made the order, or whatever you would call it, on the signage at the Marina Grand. Because the RE/MAX doesn't seem to be taking the banner down, so we think there's some
and Mr.
confusion
Wood,
there.
And it is on our agenda tonight, and it's been moved, but we will comment on it. Tonight we have a discussion part, so
That's all.
that'll come up.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak about anything not on our regular agenda tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comments, and we will move to the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from June 9th, 2020?
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. We'll open this up to the public. Would anyone like to speak to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. And any comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our consent agenda, items 1 through 2. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless a city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. Is there any commissioner that would like to remove an item? Can I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No discussion is needed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving now to our regular agenda, item number 1. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2020-R-29, by title only for first and only reading. A resolution of the City Commission of City Holly Hill, Florida, authorizing change order number 5 to the US 1 Utility Underground Project to Carter Electric, and authorizing the city manager to execute the change order for 385 additional days, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for staff from the commission? Seeing none, we'll open this up to public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this resolution tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor and a second by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any discussion needed? All right, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Simpson?
Resolution number 2020-R-30 by title only for first and only reading. Resolution of the City Commission of City Holly Hill, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment to the management agreement with Pictona at Holly Hill, and providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Forte, do you have anything to add from
Nothing further.
first time? Okay. I assume no questions for staff. Is there any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Danio. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item number 3, request for code enforcement lien reduction, 1233 Bender Ave. Mr. Forte?
The city received a request for lien reduction for code enforcement liens at the property at 1233 Bender Avenue. According to the claim of lien that was created on June 13, 2017, there's an administrative fee of $250. In addition, a claim of lien was filed in November 11, 2019, establishing a fine of $25 per day per violation, of which there were 4 violations, which came into compliance at different times. Portions of the property were deemed in compliance on February 25th, 2017, July 24th, 2017, September 20th, 2017, and the most recent and final item in compliance on May 7th, 2020. The accumulation of liens resulted in a total of $28,375. In dealing with the property owner and their representative, I'm recommending that we reduce the lien down to $3,369, which takes into account the administrative costs for the finance department, the code officers, the special master's fee, the following fee, and the release of lien fees, plus 10% of the original lien. So my recommendation is that we reduce the lien from $28,375 to $3,369, with the payment being made no later than 5 p.m. on July 10th, 2020, where the full amount of the lien will remain in place without an opportunity for a reduction in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Is there any questions or comments from the commission? Okay. I don't have it in front of me, Joe. That lien reduction was to $3,269?
$3,369.
369.
Correct.
Thank you. Just want to make sure I had that. All right. With that, we'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item tonight? Yes, ma'am. Are you the applicant?
Attorney for the applicant.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, yeah, we'll go to public after you. I'm glad you came up. No, after you. So
okay.
you did the right thing. So just state your name and address or who you work for the record.
Okay. Cobb Cole. Jessica Gallo, Cobb Cole Law Firm, 149 South Ridgewood Avenue, Daytona Beach. I'm the attorney for the applicant. We support the recommendation for the lien reduction request. Mostly, I just wanted to thank city staff for their work on this one. Our client had a difficult time through the process, so I know the city worked really closely with him for a long time before we came on board. We're really happy to have this resolved, and we're here for any questions you guys have.
Great, thank you. Is there any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much. Now, at this time, we'll open it up to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for approval as stated by Mr. Forte to reduce the lien to $3,369.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our public hearings. Number one, the first ordinance, Mr. Simpson.
Ordinance number 2020-0-3027 for second reading by title only. An ordinance of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, amending Chapter 42, Pensions and Retirement, Article 2, Police Officers of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, providing for a definition of the terms average final compensation and salary, providing for a repealer, providing for a savings clause, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Chief Aldridge, if you'd like to address it.
Yeah, Steve Aldridge, Chief of Police, Mayor and Commission. This ordinance is more of cleanup language, and the definitions, obviously, that need to be included in our pension. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, sir. I believe nothing's changed from the first reading, correct?
Correct.
Is there any questions for the chief? Yes,
No,
Commissioner. Oh.
not, I have a question. Just because it's maintenance, cleanup, housekeeping type stuff, I don't need to recuse myself since Forrest is a participant in the retirement program.
No.
Okay.
You do not. And you're
I didn't
voting on
think I
something.
did,
But it's not specific enough to you
Okay.
or to Forrest.
It has no effect on them anyway.
Yeah, it's no fiscal impact, but even if it did, you're talking about every member in the police retirement plan. So there may be enough there that would, even if there was a financial impact to it, it wouldn't require you to recuse yourself.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
It's like we vote on our tax rate, right?
Right.
All right. Is there any questions for staff or comments? With this, we will open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, we'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
We have a motion by Vice Mayor Penny, a second by Commissioner Johnson. Is there any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to the second ordinance. Mr. Simpson, if you could read it in the record.
Do you want me to read it by title since it's already being?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, well, do we have to read it into?
I don't think we need.
Since we're not.
Good question.
Okay,
It's
so,
continuing it.
Yeah, the applicant contacted the city and requested that this item be continued to a date and time certain for the regular commission meeting on July 14th, 2020 at 7 p.m. They're not here today, but I told them that we would go ahead and bring that up and that the commission would support continuing that to that date and time. However, there's an item that came to my attention over the past week with regard to the existing sign, and the question that came up is whether or not that existing sign should come down. So in the conversation that we had during the last meeting with regard to the sign and its location, the motion that the commission approved said, approved so that the applicant and staff can work on a compromise to be acceptable at the second reading and utilizing the very top flat panel of the two buildings for the signage, and this includes all other sign requests within the agreement. So there was an assumption that the commission was not going to approve the vertical sign down the side of the building, therefore that sign should be removed. It hasn't been removed, and I haven't given them notice to remove. So I wanted to get clarification from the commission tonight to see if that was your intent, that that vertical sign be removed from the building, and to notice, and remember, that's also on the code enforcement process right now, and it was held off pending the decision of the commission. Well, if the commission's decision is to not allow that vertical sign moving forward, then the question is it the commission's intent that that sign be removed?
Right. And I think that in good faith of them coming back with the recommended changes of this commission, I think that, and especially with them not having representation here, I'm not in favor of going ahead and giving them notice to pull it down immediately. I think that that let's go through this process while we're still negotiating with them with what they can or maybe cannot do, which will be decided by this board at the next meeting. I believe it's the next meeting, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that's where I stand. Vice Mayor, did you want to say something?
Well, I made the original motion, and it was my intention it was either going to fail. I was not in favor of leaving the sign there. I'm in favor of removing the sign. The best concession I'm willing to do is if there's a place that can be relocated that doesn't make noise and isn't visible to the residents. So either way, my intention is either now or 2 or 3 weeks from now that I will not be voting to leave that sign in place.
Okay.
Mayor, I
Thank
was
you.
not
Yeah.
here because I
Yeah,
had
that's
a medical
right.
procedure
Yep.
done, but I would not be in favor, just because of the past agreement, and
Okay.
I wouldn't be in favor of leaving it there.
Would you want to direct staff to have it brought down in a certain amount of hours from today, or would you want to wait until it comes back to the commission, we make a decision on whether we're going to allow whatever they bring us back? Do you have any idea yet?
Well, at his intent apparently of the motion, and I know how I feel, and I would have voted that night. I don't know if anybody else feels the
I
same
think
way.
we're 2 weeks late as it is, to be quite honest with you.
So you want to bring it down now?
I thought we were bringing it down tonight. We were talking about it.
Okay.
And that's what I would be in favor of, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson, you want
I mean, a couple of 3 weeks doesn't matter to me, but you seem like everybody's in agreement they want it down now, so.
Yeah. I just
Okay.
remind the commission that
You could tell them tomorrow, but it's going to probably take them a month to get it down.
to? Right.
It shouldn't take that long, but they're
gonna
already
drag.
past the time by several months. It should have come down in March, so they're already 3 months past the time that
Right.
amendment was approved to.
Right, but also they were also beginning that negotiation process with us to be able to
2
come
weeks
back.
ago, as far as I'm concerned, 2 weeks ago was kind of where we kind of hit the road. I thought at that point, we were pretty much pulling the plug on the sign at that place. And if anything, we were going to compromise.
All right, so before we move further and before we get a motion on the table, let's open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this whole item tonight? Yes, sir. Mr. Van Winkle. State your name and address for the record.
Robert Van Winkle, 231 Riverside Drive, 1903. First of all, I want to thank Mayor and Commissioners for the vote last time. Passed it on to a lot of people, and I must tell you, they were very happy. It's almost unanimous. Everyone says, as being tired of the sign, feels like it's a tacky sign, doesn't belong on the building. But we came to a compromise. We said, all right, if they have to have it, if they really feel that there should be a sign on the building, even after our arguments against it, put it somewhere where no one sees it. And I thought at the end of last meeting that was the decision, that the sign has to go. You guys come back with a place somewhere else where no one can see it, just to draw some attention, sail on top of the building, let's say. So I hope that we don't have to disappoint people with a couple more weeks. After all, like you mentioned, Joe mentioned, they had 3 extra months already on because of Corona, and it's been hanging there. Enough is enough, and it feels like these guys are just trying to pull one more month out of it and going to have the last say about it. disrespecting Holly Hill, frankly. They knew that they had 3 years, and then they kept on stretching it. And we just like to see it gone, and would appreciate that vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Van Winkle. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this item tonight? Yes, ma'am. And just state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm Kimberly Clark, and I live in 231 Riverside Drive, number 1509. And at the end of last meeting, our little website was really going just crazy. People were so pleased that the way that we see what Holly Hill should be and your vision of what Holly Hill should be was aligned, at least in, where this banner is regarded. I, too, like many of you spoke, really thought that when we left here that night, that the sign was coming down. And to me, it's complete disrespect of the other party that they are now pushing for a longer length of time. For all of us, it's a disrespect for us as homeowners, for Robert, who has to look at it every single day, and for you all who sit in these chambers and have to listen to us come back up here time and time again to try and get to the right, the right answer. For me, regardless of what they bring as a negotiation, which is what we talked about last time, that they would negotiate a different process, that is one piece. And the other piece was the sign had to come down. So regardless of what they do as a negotiation has nothing to do with the fact that the sign needs to come down, and it should have come down in March. So for me, I'm sorry that we don't have a better representation here. I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that at the last meeting that the city of Holly Hill mailed out 200 letters of the meeting that was going to take place on this issue, part of which went to Marina Grande residents and part of which went to residents of Holly Hill. So I never received notification, and again today did not know this meeting was taking place until this morning. So I personally would like to request to be on the list of whatever letters you're sending out. And to me personally, if we're sending out letters that have to do with Marina Grande, I really think as a community that we ought to be notifying all of the residents of Marina Grande in well advance of the issues that are coming before this council. So I hope that that can be taken up in another meeting, and maybe we can work on a little better communication so that we can notify the people that would be here tonight, I know, if they had better timing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
We'll address that in a minute. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission on this tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Joe, can I just follow up on that? She was talking about notification.
Yeah, you're required to make a notification to the surrounding properties on a change like that. And what they do is they notify the HOA, and the HOA is supposed to notify the occupants.
Okay.
And Joe, the city doesn't do that, the applicant.
The applicant does, yeah, the city doesn't
They
pay
pay
for
for
it.
it,
Right. The applicant does that, and I think even historically in the past, for all of the other amendments that have come forward, they've always only notified, for the Marina Grande buildings, they've notified the HOA about the public hearings, and then the HOA is supposed to notify the residents, the owners of the units.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, I don't know if the applicant expressed that to the HOA to notify the residents. That I can't confirm, but that's the intent when we spoke to the applicant, the attorney, is that that's how they were going to handle it.
I wonder if they weren't notified, did they find out that this was being pushed off to another meeting, and maybe that's why they didn't notify them since they weren't going to be here? Do you have any idea?
It's only that one letting.
Oh, you mean of the first reading? Okay.
We notify them of the public hearing, which
Okay.
is this meeting tonight.
Okay.
If there's a, just to kind of hone in on this. If there's something on the agenda that has to do with Marina Grande or a particular place, is it our responsibility to reach out to them and let them know that?
No, not on as a regular agenda item, but when you have an amendment to the PUD, that requires notifying the residents within, I think, a 300-foot distance. So the applicant is provided through the property appraiser's information, a list of all those properties and the addresses to send the notification to. When it comes to the Marina Grande Towers, they notify the HOA, and then the HOA is supposed to notify the unit owners.
So, Mr. Forte, Mr. Simpson, are you looking more for just consensus tonight, or would you need us to put it in a motion to be able to take down the sign in a certain time?
Well, I think really what you're saying is it's the interpretation of the last action.
Right.
That even though there was an approval with direction to come back to negotiate with staff, implicit within that is we want the existing sign at the location on the side of the building needed to come down. And so really what you're providing is a clarification of that.
Okay. So you have your consensus then, Joe? All right.
And Joe will, give them a period of time to comply, and the code enforcement process will take it from there, and that's a time-consuming, takes a while to go through the code enforcement process.
Right. Okay. Good. Is there anything anyone wants to add before we move on? All right.
Do they have to take action on moving this to the date and time certain?
The only action you can take is tabling it, then you'd have to make a motion to take it off the table. We can just have it by consensus that we'll continue this to.
July 14th.
Are they going to send out a new notice?
No, typically what happens is when it's scheduled for this date and we continue it, that this is the notice. So another notice will not be going out.
Okay.
Then what I would do is make a motion to that this be placed on the July 14th, 2020 agenda at 7 p.m. in these chambers.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Do you have a question about it?
I'd like to hear that again.
Basically, we are continuing this item to the July 14th, 2020 commission meeting at 7 p.m. in these chambers.
It has nothing to do with what we just.
For the second reading.
This is just actually taking action just to move it, and we're specifically saying it so we're publicly telling people who attended, it's now, this is the new date and time.
I got
Right.
you.
Right.
Okay, I'm okay.
Anything to add?
Did you get a second? Do you need a second?
I got a second.
Okay.
From the Vice Mayor. All right, now that we have a motion on the floor, I believe we have to, Mr. Simpson, do we have to reopen this up to the public again now that we have a separate motion?
They've kind of discussed it already, but you can ask if you want to, but it's kind of been discussed.
Anyone in the public like to comment on this if you have something new to add to it? All right, Mr. Van Winkle.
Robert Van Winkle.
And this is
231
specifically,
Riverside Drive.
and this is specifically to just the moving of
Right.
the.
I witnessed 6 months ago when the sign was ripped by a storm. It was taken down in 2 hours. 2 men came down from the glass washing company, took that sign. Last time they were throwing figures of $50,000. It's so ludicrous. It's a very simple job. It's fastened from the top. They pulled it up. In 2 hours, that sign was gone. I don't see any reason why we should now yet. It's just bowing for this guy from New York that wants to put his will down to you that he's going to keep it.
Mr. Van Winkle, we decided though that they're going to have them remove it immediately. We're just talking about moving just the second reading of what we proposed in our first reading to the next meeting. We're just saying we're moving it. Yep. No problem. Thank you, Mr. Van Winkle. Yes, ma'am.
So just to be
Please come to the microphone. Thank you.
Just to be clear, I just want to hear you say.
And state your name.
Kimberly
for name.
Clark.
Thank you.
231 Riverside
Sorry,
Drive.
it's just
That's
what we
okay.
had to do.
Tower 1509. I hate Robert's rules. I also hate 5 minutes. So, but I think y'all know that about me by now. Just to be clear, I just want to hear you say that Because what I'm hearing is that the sign will come down, but you're not going to notify them that the sign needs to come down until July
No,
14th.
no.
So the sign needs to come down now.
Yes.
And then at the next July 14th meeting, what will be discussed at that meeting with regards to the new sign?
What we
Or
voted
will
on
there?
in the first reading, which was proposed by the vice
Compromise.
mayor, the compromise of moving and painting it on the very top of the building. That's
Okay.
what will be heard on.
Very
yeah.
good. Thank you very
Yep.
much.
No problem.
Or any other way, it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Whatever
painted,
they
but
propose.
Whatever they come up with, right? Basically, the compromise is the next meeting.
Right.
Right, and
Right.
then
Just
you
the
all
compromise.
would have a say-so in their compromise being a yes or being a
Absolutely.
no.
Yes.
Or no.
Yep.
Look, I did it in 2 minutes.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak specifically to moving this item to June 14th? July 14th. Thank you. I knew I had it wrong. That's why I looked down. Seeing none, we'll close public participation. Any further discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move to communications. Mr. Forte.
Under my communications, we just have the request for the Eddie Byrne grant, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, which is $144,648 that gets distributed proportionately to all of the cities. But because the amount of money is so small, each of the cities agree that the money go toward one or two agencies for assistance. And this year, they're recommending that $113,545 goes towards the Stuart Marchman Act Healthcare Adult Drug Court Program, and $31,103 goes toward the House Next Door Success by Design Program.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve that, please.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant? We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Curry. At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Joe?
That's all that I have under my report.
All right. No, you beat me to it.
I thought you were going to skip me anyway. so-
Okay. Mrs. Manning? All right. Mr. Gutakis? All right. I wanted to bring up a couple things. I assume you guys received an email from, about the voting delegate of the Florida League of Cities. The Florida League of Cities this year is going to be very much scaled down. It's going to be in Orlando. I know we've all talked about it before when it was supposed to be in Hollywood, and we're not going to go. I don't believe they're going to have classes yet. Mr. Penny, you may have more information on that, but
It's still undecided.
okay, it's undecided if they're going to have classes. So, but they are asking us to designate a voting delegate. And so, and they're also going to, it looks like they're going to allow computing, so live voting like that somehow. So if it was the commission's will, I would be glad to serve as that, if you would so appoint me to that.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
You're going to telecommute to it? Is that basically?
Yeah, I mean, they said online, you can vote online. They're going to give us instructions. There's a small possibility in August that I might drive over there because it's in Orlando and vote because it's in the afternoon. So we'll see. We have a motion and a second. We'll open this up to the public. Would anybody like to speak to the nominating of the Florida League of Cities voting delegate? Seeing none, we'll close public participation. Any discussion?
You need gas money?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And I wanted to ask too, Mr. Forte tonight for a update on our paving project. And I wish I could have told you before that I was going to ask that so we could have Antoine here, and that's my fault, but I wanted specifically an update on the paving update. I know we briefly touched on it because I remember that we were going to repave Flomish during this summer before school got back in. I wanted to make sure that we're still on that path because I know what coronavirus has done to everything and everybody to set us behind. But I've just in the last 2 days, suddenly I've received a lot of comments from people about Flomish Road in particular. Yeah, Flomish is super bad. That's your district.
Yeah,
Mr. Forte?
In your budget this year, you have 2 roads that are scheduled to be paved. One is Daytona Avenue, and that's, I think, from like 15th Street north, and the other is Flomish from Nova to Ridgewood. So they're in your budget. Halifax Paving came in with the better bid at $382,336.51. I'm prepared for this.
Wow.
The fellow was prepared.
The problem, you like that, huh? It's a dig it up and put it down job. The problem that you have is the amount of money that is in the budget. I think we have enough money in the budget from the cash and investments that we have, but it's not enough to pay for the entire project because so far we're looking at our gas tax revenues to be coming in short. So in your revenues in the budget, you authorized a loan of $300,000. If you remember, we were originally going to do $1 million loan and pay that back $100,000 a year, and then we said, all right, let's not do that. Let's just do a little bit of paving each year rather than. So there's money that we can borrow from the solid waste fund. So those 2 roads will get paved this summer. Primarily, Flomish needs to be done before the start of the school year. So Antoine is aware of that, and we're going to get that notice out to Halifax to get that started.
Great. So
But
we'll
the
get that
bid's
started
not broken
ASAP.
down into 2 projects. That's the cost for the total of the 2.
And then we can discuss, because the gas tax is changing and because of all revenues changing, we can discuss this in budget season about the prospect of paving more streets.
Or not.
Or not, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Joe, is the digging on Flomish done? Are they done with that, all that
pond?
dirt moving and all that stuff?
For the most
So.
part, it is. We're actually, there's a little bit of delay in getting the pond, the property turned over to the city, and there's some technicality that we have to do. But I think for the most part, they're done with the heavy earth-moving portion of that.
Which is good. There's a lot of trucks on there. All right, next, the last thing I have on my list, I spoke with Mayor Henry today and a few of the other mayors here, the eastern mayors, and it looks like Daytona Beach is going to be coming out with a mask mandate of some sort. I haven't been able to check my email late this afternoon. He was supposed to send a draft of that over to us. And I told him that I would not be able to. The way he explained it is he's going to do it as an executive order in Daytona Beach. And I said that I can't act without my commission. He asked for the pulse of the other mayors, and it seemed like the pulse wasn't there to do it because of enforcement issues. The enforcement gets pretty tricky. Daytona Beach contends that it would be enforceable, but it looks like they will not be actually enforcing it. So really, it's a huge recommendation, a mandate that actually just recommends something in essence. Right. So I just wanted to bring that up. Mr. Forte and I spoke briefly about it, and he may have something to talk about it as well. But we kind of wanted to see the pulse of this commission. As of now, I do not want to see a mandate of masks in this city, and that's kind of where I am. But look, I always keep an open mind, and if things change and different things need to be looked at, then we can always take a look at that. But Mr. Forte, did you want to discuss it?
Yes, actually, I sent that out to the managers today to let them know this should be on our item to discuss tomorrow on our conference call. At our last conference call last week, I raised the issue of the unusual rise in the rate of positive cases in Volusia County and the state. And there's different reasons and different philosophies on why that's going up. The responses back with regard to the face mask mandate is most of the managers are coming back saying, nice idea, could be considered unconstitutional, shouldn't be mandated, should be recommended only. I think one of the cities or counties in the state of Florida is going through litigation right now. It might be Marion County or Ocala.
Orlando, Orange.
I think,
Orange County.
are they being sued?
Representative Sabatini just filed lawsuit yesterday.
Okay. So it's too much of a challenge. So I think if we take the position, and even at my last conference call last week and tomorrow, I'm not pushing for masks to be worn or slow the economy down in any way. I'm pushing for the conversation. People need to be reminded that masks may be good. Some believe it is, some believe it isn't. Social distancing may be good, but why not practice it to try to slow the spread and reduce the death rates instead of ignoring it and what looks like an increase in these cases? So just along the lines of what you're talking about, it does not look like it's going to be enforceable. I think it could be met with challenges, and I don't think most of the other cities, in my opinion of what I'm hearing, most of the other cities are going to support a mandate.
Okay, good. Scott?
Just to, we had a lot of discussions early on, city attorney conference calls, and I was on a city attorney blog statewide, and there was a lot of, debate about what authority local jurisdictions have in a situation like this. And my opinion is, by law, the state and every county has to have an emergency management plan. And the one thing that's and cities can have an emergency management plan. If you don't have an emergency management plan, it's crystal clear in the law that you are governed by the county's emergency management plan. So, and we've discussed this, and it would be good to get clarification, either through a court or attorney general. But right now, my opinion is we don't have an emergency management plan. So I do not think this city has the authority to adopt any emergency management orders unless the county adopts them. Because we are under the county's emergency management plan, we are under the current county's emergency management agency. Now, maybe Daytona has their own emergency management plan that gives them that authority to come out from under the counties. But I know like Ormond Beach doesn't. We don't. South Daytona doesn't. I don't know about other jurisdictions. I know Lake Helen doesn't. Oak Hill doesn't. I don't know if there's a city here that actually has their own emergency management plan. And if you're going to adopt an emergency management plan, you got to adopt it pursuant to the same laws and follow the same procedure that the county does under the law. So,
No city in Volusia County has their own plan.
So I think if you,
Well, how can Mayor Henry then just
Mandate.
by edict,
Headline?
there's a difference between doing something by edict and doing something legally by edict.
Yeah, because he said executive order, so I'm
It'll
just curious.
It'll be raised tomorrow on the conference call, and I can give you a better idea of what, I don't know if they're having a meeting or what.
Yeah,
Tonight?
I would be very, very, well, if you came to me and you said, can I do this by edict? I would tell you, no, you cannot.
Right.
Now, the county can, that's what they have an edict. And see, an emergency management order from the city is only good for 7 days. That's why the county has to keep renewing theirs every 7 days. So this is a 7-day mask edict you're going to have to keep redoing. But it's the emergency management plan that gives, whether it be the manager or the mayor or chairman, the authority to sign those. That's the emergency management plan, gives them that authority. So if that's something I think that any local government wants to consider doing something different than what the county they're located in is doing, I think they need their own emergency management plan. That would be my advice.
Interesting. Okay. So pulse of the commission.
So that takes care of that. We
Yeah,
don't really have a
kinda-
pulse.
I mean, I believe that the mandate, or not the mandate, but the recommendation is there. And I believe enforcement would be really difficult.
Yeah.
So,
I think it needs to come from the county level. It needs
Yeah.
to be,
More leadership. Okay, that's all I have. So this evening, we will start with Commissioner Johnson. What do you have for us tonight?
Just a couple of things, but I've been kind of watching this COVID-19 thing quite a bit and doing a little bit of checking on it. But I was at Cocoa Beach not this past weekend, but last weekend, and they don't know anything about the COVID-19 because, I mean, I don't know if anybody's been on Cocoa Beach or not, but it's not like Daytona Beach. It's big. And it had wall-to-wall people on Cocoa Beach until dark, until it got dark. The lifeguards are gone, everybody's gone, everything's still on, that's still going. All the restaurants around, all the sidewalks, everything, people don't know what a mask is, nobody has a mask on anything. I went up there on a call up in Flagler Beach, and Flagler had a very, very small amount reported. And they had traffic up there all along the beach parked, both sides of the road, people standing in lines going into the restaurants and bars and things and all. I mean, this far back, you just way back up the street going, and in all of them going, nobody is abandoning it whatsoever, so I don't know how you're gonna mandate it. Where somebody gonna stand out there, let the police chief and enforce it for everybody to do it or something? But also, I was doing some checking with, we had two major, long-term care facilities, or what they call, I couldn't say old folks homes, and things like that. In Holly Hill, but I'm one of them. But, I checked on Bishop Glen, and they have a problem there, but they're very serious about all employees testing every single day. They're taking every precaution they probably can. Some things slipped by them and they got really infected bad. Now, I talked in detail to the lady that runs the Riviera. That's Jennifer Harris, that came here and got an award one time before. Really good friend of mine. I talked to her, and she, to start with, when this first started, she put practices in place to prevent it from happening in Riviera. And you know how many cases they've had in Riviera? Zero. And it looks to me like I'm hoping and praying they're not going to have it, because she is so careful. You just have to give her praise for what she's done to make sure that they don't have it or something.
Are they still not allowing visitors at all? No visitors still, right?
And she didn't tell me what, she just put them in place to do it, to make sure that, so she knows what she's doing, believe me. It's not the first time she's ever run a major medical place, but you gotta give Bishop Glen credit as well. They're trying hard, and, I mean, they lost, I think 5 people died, and they've had probably 20 cases or so in there, so it's pretty bad, but you still gotta be careful. It almost looks like it's rising up, but I think a lot of it's rising up, and a lot of other people do too, because they're testing more and they're reporting more, you know what I mean? So it's hard to say, but I could tell you a couple of things about Mayor Henry's mandate too, but I know him pretty well. He was a mayor when I was a mayor, and so, but I would never say why he does some of the things he does, but he's a really good friend of mine, and I communicate with him, but I don't think he's gonna get that to work. I really don't. I mean, he can try it, but that's all I have. Go ahead to the next.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor?
Hey, Joe, are the prisoner road crews, those still checked out because of COVID?
Yeah, we still haven't gotten them back, and some of the folks that were here from the Marina Grande, I thought might have been wanting to talk about the conditions at the 2nd Street Park. And we are working hard to try to get that cleaned up. But one of the challenges that we have is we are missing 6 to 8 inmates 4 days a week. That's 48 to 64 man-hours a day that we don't have working with us. So it's putting a lot of additional pressure and work on our existing crews, which are not very big. So until we get those inmates back, we're struggling with the things that the public see, the cutting of the grass, the medians, the sidewalks, the facilities. It's 48 to 64 hours, 4 days a week. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Is that because of Corona? Are they holding back people?
Yeah.
Are they sick, or are they just?
No, they're not letting them out because you have an outbreak in the jail system. So they're not letting them out until this is over. And we thought maybe they'd be coming back in the next week or two, but I don't see that happening.
Wow.
Thank you. I know that the will of this commission has been to give direction to our police department to enforce speeding, and I'm here to tell you, the blue lights are flashing on Riverside Drive.
I was gonna ask that. He stole my.
Do not speed on Riverside Drive ever again. I don't know what a ticket is, $140, something like that? Higher? So put the word out to your friends, because
They're putting some tickets.
They're gonna call
down.
you if they get a ticket, but they're doing exactly what we told them to do. I've seen them stop commercial vehicles, personal vehicles. In the last week, it's been like shooting fish in a barrel, I think, over there. So thanks, Chief, for carrying out that. And one last thing, I know we put the Positivity Award kind of on hold because it's getting a little mundane and a little regular, too predictable and that kind of thing. But what do you guys think about at our next July meeting, recognizing Julie and Reiner Martins as a Positivity Award winner? And they've done a lot. And just a little plaque for them, just a little, the yard sign.
Yeah.
I think it'd be, it's pretty, we said to save it for something spectacular.
Right, yeah. That's
And
exactly.
I think it's kind of
yeah.
spectacular.
I like
Maybe
that.
Or maybe we do it at their grand opening or whatever, but I just want to,
When is the grand opening again? What date?
September.
Yeah, well, the grand
September's
opening's not until, they're officially
yeah.
opening July 15th.
well, our meeting's the 14th, so we could give it to them on the 14th
Oh.
and they open on the 15th.
They could put the sign out the next day.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just, it was a
No, I like the idea, and that was the purpose, is wait
Yeah,
for
yeah.
something spectacular,
you know?
and we covered a lot of people, which we needed to do monthly, but yeah, that's a.
And then maybe think of the gymnastics guys as they open up.
Yes, that's gonna be awesome.
That's supposed to open
Very soon.
very soon.
July, like
It's very close.
by July. So
Do you have any signs
that's,
It's almost July.
yeah.
Okay, that's all I had.
Do we
Thanks.
have any?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 3. All right.
Okay.
Well, we got 2 coming, so
All
that's
right,
good.
thanks. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Curry.
Thank you. The only thing I really have is, speaking of pickleball, I was there, opening day for their members only. Right now, they're open for their members only, until July the 15th. Oh, that much? Wow. They're up to 315, a reliable source tells me, members. But I was there on opening day. I was just over there today. My nephew is really into pickleball, and so he's been over there playing. And I tell you what, that's an awesome sport to watch. I'm ready to go play, but I can't because of my pinched nerve in my back. But it's phenomenal.
If you go outside on City Hall, 7 o'clock at night, and listen, it's a very unique sound.
Yeah, it was really cool watching that.
It's like walking into a crowded bowling alley.
And, I mean, a lot of people, really engaged over there. I can only imagine what it's gonna be when it's completely open. Because right now, it's courts only.
Right.
So that's gonna be awesome, but that's really all I have.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Denio.
Well, everybody stole my subject, so I got nothing to say.
Oh, man.
It's all right. I'll go first next time.
Yeah. All right. So nothing more to add? All right. Mr. Forte.
Are you through?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I got a text.
Good
We'll
news.
just call
not
it from a
bad.
citizen, Roland Villa. That wanted me to remind everybody and congratulate all of you on your unopposed reelection this year. So it was a good reminder, and congratulations to all of you for running and being unopposed. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Probably save the city a lot of money, too, huh?
Was it $12,000?
$12,000? Wow.
$12,000.
How's
A lot of bottles
that?
of
How does that divide up? Even?
No.
No.
All right. And with that, is there any further business? With that, we are adjourned.
Pave another 12 feet. 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 12 feet.